right, guys, welcome to the Studs and Sucks and also Waiver Wire Week 15. If you're still hanging around, amazing. But we're also going to do a full NFL recap of the games, honoring the guys that did well, and honoring the guys that crapped the bed during your fantasy football playoffs. And right off the top, Jim, Justin Jefferson getting hurt when people needed him the most, his bounce back year. Cooper Kupp surprising a lot of people. Drake London coming through, Breece Hall. We're going to talk about all this. I'm excited to dive in, have an open discussion here. Fantasy football late into the season. What's happening, Jim? Welcome to the show.
It's going great. I think, though, that most people that took Justin Jefferson were not in any sort of playoff position, so I don't think it really mattered. But, it's still disappointing to see a player come back and then immediately get re-injured. That's, terrible. So, that sucks.
Absolutely.
I had a pretty rough week in my playoff game too. I mean, the Lions really let me down this weekend. Sam Laporta, Amon-Ra St. Brown, two of my anchors on my team just sunk my team this week. They only got 5 points. Just terrible. And I'm probably going to lose. So I get a second place finish in this tournament league. So that kind of sucks.
It's funny you say that because I actually did a couple polarizing videos yesterday saying, I wish Cooper Kupp and Justin Jefferson the best. And I praised Cooper Kupp for his performance. But a lot of people, when you said earlier, a lot of people that had Jefferson or even Cooper Kupp didn't even make the playoffs. And it's it's almost like too little too late. But yeah, Cooper Kupp finally coming alive. I'm just not sold that that's that's the real deal. I don't think that it's going to continue into next season. And that's what we're going to talk here on the channel. We're going to start projecting into next season. We're going to talk about, way too early top 10s. We're going to talk about coaches that should be fired. There's a lot of topics we need to cover. Also, second-year players like Rashee Rice, Tank Dell, kind of project where they're going to be going and if we're going to draft them or not. So we're going to be covering a lot of stuff. So make sure you guys do smash that subscribe button. It's very important you smash the subscribe and leave a thumbs up. We go completely year round, right, Jim? I'm excited to dive into this, man. We're gonna crush it. We're gonna roll right into 2024.
Sounds good to me. Let's do it.
I'm excited, man. Let's dive into some news and notes here from the past week. So we're looking at NFL Week 14 recap for fantasy football, some injuries, news, notes here. And the first thing that kind of jumps out at me is that Justin Jefferson going down. It was a chest injury. It was a hard hit. Kind of I think he got hit from the back, didn't he? He got smoked from the back while he was trying to catch a ball. And again, very disappointing to people that invested in him early in round one. We kind of said avoid him. It was only because I went robust RB and you kind of faded him too. But he comes back after a hiatus of 7 weeks, and then he comes back and people start him, right? It's their first overall pick. And, it comes in, he gets hurt immediately, does nothing. And that game was an absolute crapshoot. It was 0-0 till the end. What a crappy game. What a crappy week if you're a Justin Jefferson owner, I would say.
Well, it was a crappy week if you had any players on any of those teams. They didn't do anything for you, I thought last week's 6-0 game of New England versus the Chargers was bad. And then wow, this is worse. That's just terrible. I haven't looked at the stats yet, but it seems like scoring is way down this year. And in ways, it's not really surprising. There's tons of these unproven second string quarterbacks that are running offenses and they're just second tier. They're not able to perform at the stars. And the lead quarterbacks keep getting injured, man. CJ Stroud injured. Trevor Lawrence was injured last week, although he did come back this week. And I mean, it's just been brutal out there for offenses. So I don't know what to say, man. Tough. It was tough.
Jim, did you actually? I do want to talk about something here. I don't know if you saw it, but Pat Mahomes. We're talking news and notes here because I want to highlight some things. There's some injuries also I want to talk about here. But did you see Pat Mahomes lose it at the end of the game with the Bills? Ended up losing. And if you saw that, Kadarius Toney, I guess, lined up incorrectly prior to the snap. And that negated an amazing play where
that was a cool play. It was like a hook and ladder, but
Mahomes threw it to Kelsey. Kelsey threw it back to was it Tony, and then Tony ran it in.
And then Tony ran it in. Yeah,
negated. So anyway, they ended up losing the game, and Mahomes loses it at the end. So I'm questioning here: is that passion, or is that just being a spoiled brat that the refs didn't go your way? What are your thoughts, Jim, on that?
Well, certainly in the past few years, the refs have very much gone in Patrick Mahomes' way. So sometimes things don't work out. It was a clear violation, and because of that, it was going to get called back. So it was a little bit disappointing. But of course, I was kind of rooting for the Bills because the Bills are fighting for their life right now, fighting for their playoff life. They can't lose right now. They just got this brutal schedule, man. I mean, next week they got to play Texas, and so they play Dallas. Excuse me, Dallas, and so they need to get some critical wins. They're just on the cusp right now of being eliminated for the season. So
I'll watch any match where Pat Mahomes loses, man. I loved it. I love the fact that he lost. I love the fact that the Bills won. I'm all in. And then there's all these memes coming out.
Wait a minute. Do you see who's behind me here on the wall? Do you see who's behind me here on the wall? Give me a full screen.
There you go.
Don't you diss Patrick Mahomes. He's just having a down year. The man is fantastic. He's the best player in the NFL. Come on.
I'm just happy, man. I live near the Bills, so I'm more of a Josh Allen. Here, we could have a debate here now. That's good. So you're a big Chiefs fan, aren't you? Or is it just a Mahomes fan?
I do like the Chiefs, but I'm Mahomes and Kelsey are like a great duo. So, I got to talk about how fast fantasy football changes. 3 seasons ago, so 2021, I had Cooper Kupp, Patrick Mahomes, Deontay Johnson, Chris Godwin on a dynasty fantasy team. And I won the championship. That was like, this team was a monster. That was Kupp's big year, when he got almost 2,000 yards. Mahomes was playing at a super high level. This year, I am in 11th place with these same players. They've all turned into pumpkins on me. They all have completely just disappeared. I'm like, dude, it was only 2 years ago that they were like world beaters. Last year, this team went 3rd in that dynasty league, and I've just got like nothing now. I don't know what to do. I traded away Kupp for a 1st round pick with another team for the rookie draft. But geez, man, it is just a crazy turn of events in just a very, very short period of time.
Fantasy changes, and it's funny because I reshared a video a screenshot of my 2015 team, and I had an R. Rodgers there, and they're like, Rodgers, Packers, and it was like a Richard Rodgers, and I'm like, who's that guy? And like so many things change, years down the road where you kind of forget about certain players that were viable years ago. So yeah, fantasy, it's ever going, it's recurring, it's constantly rolling over and changing year by year, and that's why copy and paste rankings don't work. So also I want to talk a little bit about news and notes here real quick. Again, CJ Stroud injured, concussion. It looked pretty rough. I felt bad for him. It fell down pretty hard. He was pulled out, so I'm assuming he's going to miss some time. Very unfortunate. Justin Herbert, man, what a wuss. I mean, the guy, his finger was hurt. He was out. I think their playoff hopes are pretty much done. I think the Chargers are really screwed this year. They got to fire.
Yeah, I don't think they were ever in it. They've only won 3 games this year or something, 3 or 4.
They're done.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And Herbert just MRI and figure, got paid all this money and nothing. And then again, we talked about Justin Jefferson. So that's the interesting. Also, Madison ankle exited week 14's game with an ankle injury at 10 carries and 68 yards prior to exiting. So those are your news and notes here and injuries that really jump out. Let us know in the comments if you have any particular questions regarding that or any championship questions for starts and sits. All right, let's go over some waiver wire. I'm sure a lot of people aren't doing waiver wire this week, but we're going to go over some waiver wire at each position, but also go over the studs and sucks and honor them. Starting off with the quarterback position, I got to honor here Lamar Jackson, Desmond Ridder, believe it or not. Desmond Ridder, like really? Justin Fields, Jake, like who would have thought, man? Like, listen to this. This is wild, okay? We're talking playoffs. For most people, it's like, depending on your league, it's like week 1 playoffs for some leagues, or like, let's say week 2, week 1, right? Listen to this. Top 10 quarterbacks for this week. I mean, who would have thunk this prior to the season? Listen to this. Who's in the top 10? Desmond Ridder at 2. This is excluding the Monday night game. Desmond Ridder, Jake Browning at 4 in fantasy points, 23.7. Brock Purdy at 6. Bailey Zappi at 20.8, Mitch Trubisky at 8, Josh Allen, which is to be expected, and Joe Flacco to round out the top 10. Like, tell me that's not crazy, right? That's insane.
I watch Red Zone, and so they occasionally put up on the screen who the top quarterbacks are, who the top running backs, top wide receivers. And at one point yesterday, the top 5 quarterbacks was Zach Wilson, Desmond Ridder, Jake Browning,
Yeah,
Joe Flacco, and one other no name. I'm like, what in the hell is going on?
it's wild.
Yeah, it was just nuts. But
That's fantasy. That's fantasy for you. I mean, that's what it is. I mean, like again, if we were talking at the beginning of the season and said, "Hey, in my playoff championship, Desmond Ritter and Jake Browning, I'm going to be starting them as in my 2 quarterback league," and like, can you imagine? Like, it's insane. And that's fantasy.
yeah,
Those are your Those are your studs, man. The stud of the week is Desmond Ritter at quarterback, like next to Lamar. Like, I don't even know what to tell you, but I'm going to honor him either way. And going
I,
into
I do I do just have to add one thing about Desmond Ritter
sure.
though, because he had a Hail Mary at the very end of the game. It was like a 50-yard bomb, and Drake London caught it on like the 4-yard line, but he
Yeah.
wasn't able to make it into the end zone, and they lost the game. But that kind of padded his stats.
It's how
that
you
was
finish, man. It's how you finish. It's still a fantasy win, but I don't think a lot of people started him. Doesn't even matter. But you're right. That's a
Yeah, it
good
doesn't
point.
really matter. Although I did play against Drake London yesterday, and that final play really just was like a knife in the back. I'm like, are you kidding me? My opponent just got another, 6.5 points like that at the very last play of the game. I'm like, damn you.
I got to do a voice change here as I go over the suck of the week at quarterback. You ready for this?
Okay.
Quick? Here we go. Justin Herbert, 1.84. You, sir, are the suck of the week. Justin Herbert, you should be ashamed of yourself. He should be ashamed of himself, man. Justin Herbert, man. Wow. Goes out with
It's
a thumb injury or
yeah,
finger injury.
it's hard to say. Is he a good quarterback? Because he hasn't won a lot of games, and this is his fourth season in the league or something. I mean, the dude,
Yeah.
he's put up numbers. I mean, he's been able to put up production in the past, but now his whole surrounding cast is in really bad shape right now. And
Yeah, I don't know if he's that good. I always thought he was like this exceptional quarterback. His sports cards were selling really well. Everybody was going
yeah,
crazy for his sports cards, and now it's like, man, I don't know, man. I'm really like questioning how good he really is, and he's had years to prove it. Like it's not like it's his first year or second year. He's been integrated a while, and is he up the top tier guys are going to get the team to the promised land like a Jalen Hurts or a Mahomes or those guys? And I don't think he's up there, man. I
well,
definitely think
I think he needs a
there's
better
two.
team surrounding him. That's part of the
Yeah,
problem. But he has done it. I mean, he had a 5,000-yard season, so the dude can do it. He just has to have the right people around him to be able to make that happen. And I just don't think that team is constructed very well. And it's aging. All the key skill positions are all aging, and so there's going to have to be. It might be a tear down and a rebuild after this season because there's not a lot there going forward with the age of Eckler and Allen and a bunch of other assets on that team. They're all getting old. So
okay, so quarterback waiver wire. If there's anybody you need for your championship week or week 2 of playoff, whatever. I mean, so many leagues are different on basically how they format their playoffs. But if it's championship week or second week of playoffs for you next week or first week, whatever it is, who should they be grabbing waiver wire week 15 at quarterback?
well, I'll tell you what, the one that I think is the pickup of the week as far as the quarterback goes, if you need one, is to get Matthew Stafford of the Rams. He got 23.6 points this past week. Obviously, we talked about Kupp, how Kupp is looking better. They are playing Washington at home. Washington is the number one team for opposing quarterbacks. So this should be a really good game for him. And I think that would be the if you need a quarterback, that's the one I would grab. But obviously we talked about Jake Browning. He's looking pretty good. He got 26.7 points. They've got Minnesota at home, so that should be a pretty good matchup. Desmond Ritter is at Carolina this next week, and then Joe Flacco is playing Chicago at home. So I think all these guys are viable pickups. But if I had to choose one, I'd choose Stafford. So
All right. All right, let's move on here to the running backs here. And I saw this one coming here. Zeke Elliott leading the pack here, 27 points PPR. As soon as the Stevenson was out, I'm like, Zeke's going to eat. I just didn't think he'd eat this much. I mean, 8 targets, 7 receptions, receiving touchdown, 22 attempts. Mind you, only 68 yards, 3.1 yards per carry. He got it done in the receiving game, believe it or not. But Zeke Elliott pulling through, man. I mean, that's the Patriots, man. They've destroyed running backs with their committees. A lot of teams have. But once given the opportunity, a running back can thrive there. Brees Hall,
yeah,
James Cook. Rashad White. So you wanted to add something on Zeke there?
Well, yeah, I was just going to say with the Patriots, it's always been no running back is viable until one of the running backs that is on that team goes down with an injury. Neither Ramondre nor Zeke were any good, but once Ramondre went down and it was all Zeke, now Zeke is producing. This happens nearly every season with the New England Patriots. Like even last year when it was Ramondre and
Yeah.
not Damian Pierce, who's the other guy?
Harris.
Harris, yeah, Harris. And again, Ramondre didn't start to produce until Harris was lost for the season. It
Yeah.
happens almost every year with that team. But yeah, he is, by the way, the top pickup of the week with that sort of volume. They do play Kansas City at home, so it's a tough matchup. But with that kind of volume, who cares? He's probably going to be pretty good.
All right. So other guys did well. Again, Breece Hall, James Cook, Rashad White, Joe Mixon. Even though Chase Brown had that big run, now I'm wondering if Mixon's even going to be viable this year. I haven't looked at his contract, but the way that Chase Brown is playing, I mean, do you need Mixon? I mean, I don't know, man. I think you just run Chase Brown and draft a rookie. Mixon should be voided out at this point. He's just an old dude.
Yeah, I mean, well, he's not really old. He's been in the
27.
league for a long time, but he's only 27. Seems like he's been in the league for 20 years.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I had problems with Mixon from the start of this season, just based on what happened last year. But everyone's like, "Oh, it's a good offense. He's going to get all the volume." But the offense has not been that good this year, and he is not getting all the volume anymore. So I think next year, if he's still on the team, man, I would draft Chase Brown afterwards. Chase will be
Yeah.
like a 10th or 11th round player. That's the guy I would target, not Mixon. And
He's the
let
future.
Chase's role grow.
I think so. Unless we're going to see the draft. Everything is predicated on the draft. But Bijan Robinson pulling through 19.18 points. Austin Eckler pulling through 21 points. Chase Brown, like I said, Javonte and Jahmyr Gibbs to round out the top 10. 17.2 points for Jahmyr Gibbs. So our guys, the guys that, I was pushing prior to the season, Gibbs and Bijan pull off in the playoffs here finally. And Tony Pollard, actually, 16.6 points. Christian McCaffrey didn't have the highest game. What did he finish 13th? Again, excluding the Monday game, 16.3 points, but still consistent Christian McCaffrey here.
It was solid, but it was nice to see Javonte have a really good game, and he got his first touchdown. That was his first touchdown of the season, was here in Week 14. I don't know. I kind of like his prospects for next year. That the Denver offense is looking like it's finally starting to click. And he'll then be like a full year removed from coming back from that knee injury he suffered last season. I don't know. I think he's going to be a good choice next year in the draft.
I'm trying to find the suck of the week here. Man, Dameon Pierce, 1.7, but he's not even worth talking about at this point. Dalvin Cook, 1.8 points. Again, not worth really talking about. I would say the suck of the week has to go to like a DeAndre Swift, 3.9 points. I mean, that's ridiculous for a guy who kind of came on early in the season, had a couple monster games, and kind of fell right off. DeAndre Swift's a consideration. Josh Jacobs, he went out with an injury, I think. He was a little banged up. He's walking by the sideline. 7 points for him. Keaton Mitchell, 7.2. Najee Harris, 7.8. I don't know. Who would you give it to? Clyde Edwards-Helaire had an opportunity, only 8.8 points. 8.8 points. A lot of people started him thinking, with the injury to Pacheco, he would have stepped up, but he sucks. Man, I don't know. I would probably give it to, who would you give it to? I'd say DeAndre Swift, right? 3.9 points, right? Suck of the week.
Yeah, Swift is really disappointed. But again, I hate running backs that play with a rushing quarterback, because the rushing quarterback is going to take all the goal line work. And, and he's in his committee anyway. There's Gainwell, and there's, who's the other guy? Boston Scott. Both those guys are also in that backfield. It's just like, the fact that he got any production this year is kind of amazing, but it's just too inconsistent to trust, and you don't want to deal with that kind of a backfield. So
they all suck. 11 attempts for Swift last week. This week 4 points for Kenneth. 4 attempts for Gainwell and 3 for Boston Scott. Like, I don't know, just a disaster of a team. So who are we picking up off waiver wire? If waiver wire week 15, if we need one, anybody particularly? Chase Brown, I guess.
Well, Zeke was the number one choice, but also we've got Rico Dowdle of Dallas, who got 12 touches and 2 targets. They are at Buffalo next week. Ty Chandler of Minnesota. This is important, especially if Madison misses some time. He got 12 touches and 3 targets. They are at Cincinnati next week. Donta Foreman of Chicago got 11 touches and 3 targets. They are at Cleveland. And Clyde Edwards-Helaire got 11 touches and 4 targets at New England. Not a great matchup. I don't think I'd be interested in that one, but there's a couple of guys worth picking up there.
All right, let's move on here to the wide receiver position here. Studs here. Deebo Samuel tore it up, 34 points. Drake London, DJ Moore. Cooper Kupp, there you are. 25.5 points, including a touchdown, 115 receiving yards, and 8 receptions. Pretty remarkable. Garrett Wilson, solid, consistent. Zay Flowers, Odell Beckham Jr. I don't think he's been in the top 10 for a while, going past a couple of years. He's been sucking. Mike Pittman, CeeDee Lamb, and Rashee Rice to round out the top 10. And Rashee Rice was literally going pretty much undrafted or super late in drafts, I believe. So the fact that he finished top 10 in the playoffs is pretty awesome. Those are your top 10, Jim. Anyone else you want to compliment here in the top 10?
I just got to say, hats off to Rashee Rice. It really looks like he's really establishing himself with that offense. Definitely looks positive for going forward. And so I love that he's going to be basically the primary target in the receiving core. But I'm afraid that he's going to be overdrafted next year. He's going to be drafted too high next year. But because I think he's like a flex or a 2, probably at best in that kind of an offense, the way they spread the ball around. And he's certainly not the level of talent that Tyreek Hill is. So I'm not sure he really has the opportunity to become that elite option. But I'm just afraid he's going to go in the 4th round or the 5th round. I just think that's too early for what he offers, but it's still so great to see him there. That's awesome. So
looking at the sucks of the week, Nico Collins, I think you said he got banged up, 2.3 points. Disappointing.
Yeah, he got injured, so he left the game.
Jerry Jeudy 3.6 points. Alex Pierce 4.2. I think he had a good game a week or two ago. I wasn't expecting much out of him anyway. Who else really crapped the bed here that's jumping out at me? Tyler Boyd 4.3.
I'm totally done with Jeudy right now. I mean, that dude, I'm never ever going to draft him again for anything.
No, he's done. But listen to this, though. Listen to this. Josh Downs, 6.2 points. Jamar Chase, 5.9. Jamar Chase, 5.9. Justin Jefferson, 4.7. He got, exited out early. So look at Jefferson and Chase, and this is like championship playoff week, right? This is something to really consider. Even Stephon Diggs, 6.4. 3 of your top first round pick, second round pick wide receivers finished outside the top 40. That is crazy, isn't it? If you think about it.
And especially with as good as Jake Browning did yesterday, that Jamar Chase only got 5 points. That's crazy. And we also talked about Amon-Ra. Amon-Ra was also like a late first, early second round pick, and he just totally took a dump yesterday. So.
This is playoffs here. This is your first round pick, and some people harp on me like, oh, you know what, running backs are a bust, don't draft. Yeah, but wide receivers aren't doing any better. Like I said, Jamar Chase finished 47th, Stephon Diggs 43rd, and Jefferson 53rd in fantasy points in this playoff week 14. That's crazy. And to a lot of people, that's maybe a championship week or a week 1 or a week 2 of playoffs.
But for most people, it's still just the regular season. So it's not a killer, and those guys are going to come back. They're really good. They're not. It's not like these guys are bad players by any stretch of the imagination. They just weren't part of the game plan, or they were locked out by the defense. That happens a lot.
So who are we picking up at wide receiver if we must?
Well, I gotta say, man, the biggest surprise of the week is Zay Jones of Jacksonville, who got 14 targets in the game last week. And of course, Ridley completely ignored. So
that's weird. That's so weird.
Again, I hate Trevor Lawrence and I hate that team. But they are playing Baltimore at home next week. That's kind of a tough matchup, but with that kind of volume, geez. Demarcus Robinson of the Rams got 10 targets, despite the fact that both Puka and Kupp had pretty decent games. Again, they are playing Washington at home. I think that's going to be a big game, so he would be worth picking up. OBJ of Baltimore got 10 targets. They are at Jacksonville this next week. That should be pretty good. Jonathan Mingo of Carolina got 9 targets, but he didn't do a damn thing with it. He got like 2 fantasy points. So I don't know what happened there. Obviously, Carolina is a terrible team, but they are playing Arizona at home. So that could be pretty good. Darnell Mooney of Chicago got 7 targets. They're at Cleveland. And Alex Erickson of the Chargers got 7 targets. They are at Las Vegas. So appears to be some better matchups this next week as far as receivers go. But
a lot of hype.
Those are all the guys I'd consider.
A lot of hype around that Parker Washington from Jacksonville. Only 3 targets, 2 receptions. He did get a touchdown, 8.7 points. A lot of people are hyped up about him. But
don't follow that. You're never going to see him again. 3 targets. You can't count on that.
And look at the target. Even Ridley had 13 targets compared to 3. So people were jumping on like, "Hey man, I need to get Parker Washington," and that Conchiefs were, dude, like relax. Like he's not going to be that much of a game changer. I mean, there's a possibility, but you're reaching, right? I hate when they reach for stuff like that.
Right?
It's a big reach. All right, tight ends. Who should we be picking up here? Tight end position, and give us some defenses here to wrap this up.
Okay, so anyway, for tight ends, top pickup would be Gerald Everett of the Chargers. He got 8 targets last week, and they are at Las Vegas, so that should be a pretty good matchup. Jonnu Smith of Atlanta, he's been really inconsistent this year, up and down, so hard to trust. But he got 7 targets yesterday at Carolina next week. Isaiah Likely of Baltimore got 7 targets. They're at Jacksonville, and Tyler Conklin of the Jets got 6 targets, and they are at Miami. So those guys are all definitely worth picking up.
Awesome. And then defense here. Who we picking up to stream?
Well, I was looking at defenses, and it's kind of hard to – there wasn't as many good matchups as there usually is, but there was 3 that I liked. Atlanta is at Carolina next week, and Carolina just can't do anything, so that's a good matchup. Kansas City is at the Patriots at New England, so I think Patriots can't score points anyway, so that should be all right. And then the Rams are at Washington. So that's I guess my theme of the show is play the Rams because they're playing Washington.
I like Miami versus the Jets. That's appealing. Yeah, Atlanta versus Carolina is nice. How about 49ers? I mean, people have them. You can't really stream them. They're playing Arizona. There's a couple of decent matchups. Nothing crazy that jumps out at me. Eagles versus Seattle could be good. So, a couple good matchups there for you guys to stream as well. With tight end here, man, let's really quickly go over that real quick in regards to studs and sucks here. I mean, Evan Ingram, Njoku, Isaiah Likely, Hunter Henry, George Kittle, Davis Allen, believe it or not, from the Rams, had 5 targets.
Oh, yeah, Davis Allen was a guy that just kind of came out of nowhere yesterday, and it's because Higbee didn't play. So,
it's not sustainable. Kyle Pitts, Travis Kelce, and Jake Ferguson around in the top 10. Dalton Kincaid, only 7.1 points. Sam Laporta, big disappointment, unfortunately, 4.7 points. Got to address that. I mean, it's just very unfortunate that Laporta didn't pick up. And your guy, Cade Otton, got a touchdown. I saw that. I was thinking about you.
Yeah, he did.
Cade Otton.
Again, Otton is just all over those plays. He's a guy I just can't trust. His usage is just up and down every week. So he's not a great choice for fantasy, but he might be a good choice for best ball next year. I mean, because he's going to be like really late on the draft board, and he's a guy that will occasionally get you those big games. So
Well, there you have it, guys. Studs and Sucks. NFL 14 recap, NFL Week 14 recap, NFL Week 14 highlights there for you guys, laid out for you, some studs and sucks, and also some waiver wire for Week 15. If you're new to the channel, make sure you guys subscribe. We're going to start rolling out the 2024 content. This year just flew by, dude. Can you believe it's done already, Jim? It's pretty much done.
I know. It's so sad.
I know. We need some sad music to part way with. I don't even have. Do I have sad music here on our way out here that the season's almost done? I don't think I have one, but we'll have to get some music for next one.
There you go. Yes.
Yeah. All I have. Hold on.
That sad violin music. That's just like,
I got some. How does this sound? You like the piano? Can you hear that?
Yes.
Yeah, the fantasy football season's over, guys. But don't worry. We're rolling into next year. It's going to be beautiful. Make sure you guys subscribe and drop your questions below. Thanks, Jim. We're out. Hopefully, you guys have a great day.
Thank you, Counselor. Good luck in the first week of the playoffs, everybody.
All right. Bye, guys. We're out.